Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'll be sharing my thoughts on the Season 5 premiere of Fear the Walking Dead. As always is the norm in my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please do keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. So I'm sure the majority of you watching this video all know my views on Season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, and that is that I think it's a bit shit. But for those of you who might be new to my channel, or for those of you who missed my reviews on it last year, just a bit of background information. I set out with the intention of reviewing the entirety of Season 4 because I liked the first 3 seasons, but I gave up after episode 12 because I just couldn't take it anymore. In the last couple of weeks I have gone back to try and catch up with the show, as I knew I'd be reviewing Season 5, but I managed to get to episode 15 and I just couldn't bring myself to watch the finale because once again I just wasn't enjoying it. So with that in mind, I'm sure there's a lot of you watching this thinking to yourself, why the hell is this guy reviewing Season 5 then? Well, I guess part of the reason why is just that I'm curious as to how Fear the Walking Dead is going to fit in two of my favourite characters who previously appeared on the show, as well as one of my favourite characters from The Walking Dead. So it's been known for a while that Troy and Daniel will be reappearing in some capacity, and two of them were my favourite characters on previous seasons. And we're also having Dwight come over from The Walking Dead, and I've always liked Dwight since his, well, not quite since his initial introduction. He was a bit of a dick at first, but I've liked him for quite some time, and I've always, put my case forward as to why he's not as bad as people think he is. And yeah, he's one of my favourite characters, and I'm excited to see how all these characters will fit on the show. Also, with it being a new season, I'm just willing to give it another chance, or at least watch the first couple of episodes to see if I liked it. I mean, as much as Season 4, as much as I disliked it, the first 4 to 5 episodes were pretty damn good. It's just that after that it went downhill massively. With that all out of the way then, the question that needs to be answered is this a return to form for The Walking Dead, or is it just another stinker? Well, I wouldn't go quite as far as saying it's a return to form, but it is definitely a huge step in the right direction. I honestly can say that I enjoyed this episode a hell of a lot more than the majority of the episodes from Season 4. The opening 15 minutes of this episode focus on Al, John, Luciana, Morgan, June, and there's one person I'm forgetting, and Alicia, as they attempt to survive in the woods following their plane crash. Yeah, they got a plane now. I don't know where they got it from, but let's just go with it. The show also introduces us to 3 new characters during this opening, that being Max, Dylan, and Annie. Sorry, I'm not very good with names, and I'm not reading off a script this video, so you'll have just to bear with me. Also, thank you to, let me check, Dimitron, for pointing out these names to me on Twitter, because there's no way that I'd remember them on my own. All the characters apart from Luciana escape the plane crash unscathed, and Luciana, she is unfortunately impaled on a bit of the plane which goes through her sort of shoulder chest area. I did wonder at this point if Fear the Walking Dead was going to try and shock its audience by killing off a big character in the first episode, and I actually got a bit angry about this. I actually said out loud, no, you can't kill Luciana this early, which was a bit surprising to me because I was convinced that I didn't care about any characters in the show anymore, especially after how bad I found Season 4 to be. So that's quite nice to know that I do actually care about some of these characters. Apart from June. Screw June. I'm sure a lot of viewers who watched this episode didn't really think that Luciana was in any real danger, but Fear the Walking Dead does have history of killing big characters off quite early into the seasons. I mean, look at Travis and Nick as prime examples. The walker slaying that takes place after everyone wakes up from the crash isn't really anything that we haven't seen before, but I was impressed by how well everyone worked as a team. Alicia stood out to me in particular. She seemed like a woman on a mission, going around chopping off everyone's head with a, what was it, like a paddle? Was it the blade of the plane? I don't really know, but anyway, yeah, she just seemed like when Rick went to town at Alexandria, when the herd burst into there, that's what she reminded me of. She was just going crazy. And I thought that her wire trip trap, whatever it's called, that she put down on the floor was actually quite clever. After staving off the undead for about 10 minutes, Dylan and Max's sister Annie turns up and she manages to take everyone away. It's at this point that Morgan reveals that the plane crashed when they were trying to take supplies to a guy named Logan. Now, a major problem that I have with Season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead is that a lot of the characters ended up putting themselves in danger by going out and helping people for no reason. This is a post-apocalyptic world. We all know how dangerous it is, so then why, for example, would you go out out of your way to try and help someone who had repeatedly tried to kill you. You know, it's things like this that really put me off last season because it was just ridiculous. To be honest, my opinion on this hasn't really changed entirely, but thank Jesus, Allah, Buddha and any other entities up there that Fear the Walking Dead finally acknowledges how silly this all is. Thank you. Morgan tells Annie in the car that they were going to go to this Logan guy because he and his group were surrounded by walkers and he needed help. Morgan also explains to her that they've actually never met this guy and are just going by what he said on the radio. It's at this point that Annie slams on the brake because she can't believe how naive this guy is. As you'd probably expect, I absolutely loved this moment and I found myself cheering for all the kids during this episode. In fact, they actually seemed more switched on than most of the adults. When everyone, including these 3 new characters, made it to Logan's truck stop and found that it was abandoned and hadn't been used for quite some time, the 3 kids decided to bail out because they, knew something was wrong, and I have to applaud them for that. They seem like clever kids. I'd have probably done the same. Whilst Morgan is doing his best just to try and help people, these kids are focused on survival, and I really hope that we see more of them. It turns out the reason that why Logan's truck stop is empty is because he lured Morgan there to get him away from his main camp so that he could then sneak in with his people and take their base without any bloodshed. And that's pretty clever, really. That's actually quite a clever move because he was taking advantage of Morgan's kindness, and yeah, he did it without losing any people. So got to give some credit to the guy, I guess. As much as I hate the character of Martha from last season, it makes me think that perhaps she does have a point. Helping people is kind of weak in a way. Morgan tried to help people and he's now lost his home. As I just said a moment ago, personally I think it's a bit stupid for Morgan to be running, driving and flying around trying to help everyone in a post-apocalyptic world. Maybe this just says more about me than anyone else, maybe I'm just a bit selfish, but I think that if the world went to absolute shit, I'd just be focused on looking after myself and the people that I care about, rather than running around, trying to be a charity. Again, maybe this is just me being selfish, but, at least I'm not putting myself unnecessarily in danger. However, one thing that I do have to commend this episode for is that it does actually address this issue. The final conversation between Morgan and Alicia this episode really stuck out to me because it answers quite a lot of questions about their humanitarian mission. On one hand, we've got Alicia, who is disillusioned with either helping people who don't want the help or helping people who then go on to take advantage of them. Morgan, on the other hand, needs to help people because to him surviving just isn't enough. He needs a purpose, he needs something to do, something to aim for, and that's why he wants to keep doing it. And although I tend to lean towards Alicia's side of the argument, I do understand where Morgan's coming from. Finally, survival is undoubtedly the #1 priority for the human race, but what if surviving just isn't enough? Although I've just said that I wouldn't go out of my way to help random people during a zombie apocalypse, I can understand that just simply surviving could get a bit boring after a while. I know this is a bit of a weird comparison to make, but when you look at millionaires and billionaires, they could just easily retire and never have to work a day again, yet most of them carry on working because they need a goal, they need something to do, they need some sort of purpose for their life. Just sort of settling down with their big wads of cash isn't good enough because they need something that wakes them up in the morning and something to keep them going. So I kind of get where Morgan's coming from. I mean, yeah, he could just sit back and survive and they could probably just sit there in their factory. He could just sit there eating his protein bars until he dies of obesity, but he wants something to do. He wants something that makes him feel good about himself, something that makes him think, this is why I'm here. And I kind of get that. And that finally, I'm glad because that, to me, that was never obvious at all through last season because of how bad the writing was. Also, let's not forget that this man is a bit crazy. He regularly has hallucinations. His wife and child are both dead, and he probably just wants something to take his mind off it all. That's not a good excuse for getting everyone else in danger, but I can see where he's coming from. If this episode is anything to go by, the show seems to be setting up a confrontation between Morgan and Alicia. You've got Alicia, who is disheartened and thinks they should just give up and try to survive. She says that her mum worked too hard for them all just to die going around because they're giving out stuff for free. Morgan, on the other hand, believes that it needs to be done. Yeah, it's hard, but that's the way it is, and it'll be interesting to see what comes of it this season. On a side note, I do think it's a bit weird that Alicia was quite willing and happy to help this Logan guy, a guy who she had just heard over the radio, who she didn't know. Because when you think back to season 2, there's a scene I remember of her talking to a guy when she's aboard the Abigail, which is Strand's boat, and she tells him, this guy, all this information, and it turns out that he's a member of this group of pirates who then board the ship and try and attack and kill everyone, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so it seems a bit weird that Alicia's basically doing the same thing again. But then according to Scott Gimple, Fear the Walking Dead doesn't exist before season 4, so I guess we'll just forget about that. Moving on, and I quickly want to talk about the 2 big reveals to come from this episode. So first off is the news that Daniel Salazar is in fact still alive. Again, like I said, we all knew this was going to happen because the news broke pre-season, but it was still pretty cool seeing Strand see Daniel being interviewed on the tape, one of Al's tapes, just to see his face, because he's got to be shitting himself now. Daniel was coming for you, Strand. You were in trouble. I mean, what else can you say? I thought it was a really cool cameo, and I can't wait to see more of him. Reveal number 2 also relates to something that's captured on Al's camera. So Al is, at one point in the episode, she's fighting this walker who has body armor on, and she drops the camera and it sort of records the conflict of her killing this walker. She then goes back and watches the video and notices something on the walker, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I've tried to look through the scene a number of times, but I don't know what it is that draws her attention to it. Is it just the body armor? I'm not really sure. So later in that evening, she then goes back to visit the walker because she says that to Morgan, whatever's there will be gone in the morning, and she finds what looks like all these weird sort of government documents. We know that the area is a radioactive area, as that's shown earlier in the episode, and then she's tasered and KO'd by another guy in body armor and taken away. At this point, I don't know what any of this means. Part of me thought it might be something to do with the actual Walker outbreak. Were these people involved? Will we learn more about it? But then again, I know that the Walking Dead universe likes to keep this information away from us. I think the only real thing we've learned about the Walkers was from Jenna back in season 1 of The Walking Dead, and that was under a different showrunner to what every other season has had. So I doubt we're going to find anything amazing about, you know, the origins of the Walkers or stuff like that. It could be that these people might be like similar to Troy's military group in that they are experimenting on people to get information about Walkers and stuff like that. I mean, maybe we'll even see Troy there, or it could be that this is just something else completely different. Who knows? I have no clue. I'm open to listening to all your theories about it, so let me know what you think. So yeah, I didn't really expect the show to sort of go down this route with like the government conspiracies and military-esque officials coming back like we saw before when at, you know, the border and with Troy and stuff like that, and it's quite interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what comes of it. So before I end this video, there are a few sort of negative points that I just want to get out of the way and mention before I wrap things up. Firstly, I found the conversation that Luciana has when she's on the table in truck stop to, I think it's to Dylan, I found that conversation to be atrocious. There's a line where she says something like, oh, we're carrying on the dream, we're fulfilling his legacy. You know, this sort of cringy, bollocksy dialogue that no one would ever actually say in real life. And it's just classic Gimple. And, you know, the only people who talk like this are his imaginary friends. I also have to admit, I found it a bit weird when Logan mentioned that the factory is his because he's on the legal deed. Like, mate, the world's gone to shit. Who cares if your name's on the legal deed? I don't think anyone is paying attention to the law anymore, but, oh well, you know, I'm willing to let it go. It just seemed like a bit of a weird thing to say. Yeah, this place is mine legally. Oh, okay, sorry, you're on the legal deed, are you? All right, yeah, you can have it. And that's about it, really. There's not a lot that I really can complain about. Unlike most of last season, this season doesn't spend ages introducing characters and going through their backstory because we know these characters. It just allows the sort of the plot to flow and stuff for actually to happen, and I enjoyed it. I like that a lot of the problems I had with last season were touched upon, even if it was, you know, briefly, and the new antagonist is already much better to me than the 2 were that were featured last time. And in a cameo of Daniel and these weird government radioactive dealing people, and well, this season's got my attention. I am weary of coming out and saying that this season's going to be amazing because I actually think season 4 episode 1 is fantastic, and then yeah, it just went to shit after that. So I'm still weary, I'm still cautious, but all I can do is judge on what I've seen so far on this one episode, and I liked it. And I'm pleased to say I liked it because I was not expecting to like this at all. I didn't really have any expectations because of how bad last year was, and yeah, it's good. Surprisingly, I enjoyed it. Of course, it has its issues, but all in all, it's a good season, and it's actually got me excited to see what happens next, which isn't something I ever thought I would say after seeing some of my favourite characters butchered last year, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. So please let me know your thoughts below. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you hate it? Did you think it was alright? Whatever your thoughts are, whatever your thoughts are, let me know below. I also made a comment earlier about me not reading off a script. That's not entirely true. I have written out a script for this video. It's just that it's not sort of plastered in front of me. Normally I have it on below the camera, which is why I've had people comment before saying, oh, you're looking at the script, which, you know, is admittedly, some people say it's off-putting. This time I've just sort of got the script next to me and I'm just going back to it and watching it again. Hopefully it's videos seems a bit more natural because I'm just trying to remember the lines and saying it instead of glancing at it and reading it, which is quite obvious. So let me know if this video has felt better to you because of that, because I had some nice comments on my last video saying that, you know, you seemed like more natural and your personality came out a bit. I apologise, I haven't replied to any yet because I've been so busy, but yeah, let me know if you like this kind of style a bit better than my usual sort of stoic, you know, when I sort of rigid and I very stick to the script a lot. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. And some other news, I will be reviewing the other show that airs after Fear the Walking Dead, which has a really weird name like Nosferatu 2 or something like that. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. It's a vampire show on AMC, and because it's like the first season, I thought it doesn't require me to catch up 20 seasons of the show to watch it. So I will be reviewing that, and I will be reviewing it later this week because it's actually my birthday tomorrow, or it's actually going to be, well, it's my birthday on the 4th, so by the time this video probably goes out, it probably will be my birthday. So I've got to go to bed and resist opening my presents because like I need to open them with my wife and daughter tomorrow. So yeah, it's my birthday tomorrow, and I've got to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. Ah well. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.